How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.
A kind of drama that Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings should be known for now, and the kind of drama that only comes when you have MS Dhoni batting towards the end and Sandeep Sharma thrown the ball ahead of Jofra Archer, two uncapped players of the IPL going at it in Guwahati, and eventually the Royals holding their nerve in spite of what looked like Jamie Overton breathing life in the last few balls. It's Rajasthan Royals that pick up their first points. In the end, the difference 1 hit, 6 runs, as both teams now have won 1 out of 3 back-to-back defeats for the Super Kings, and they continue that trend that was spoken of at halftime of not being able to chase a score in excess of 180 for 6 years in the IPL. So much to analyze, look back upon, answer your questions and comments on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. Was a game that had Ian Bishop and Cheteshwar Pujara, Matt Roller. Matt was jumping up and down. These two much more mature and measured men were just amazed at all the storylines of the last 15 minutes or so. But where shall we start? What is the difference? In a close game, we often try and think of what's the difference between the team that's won and lost. So let me start with you, Puji. What's the difference today?
I thought they left it little longer. They could have accelerated when Jadeja and MS were batting. They could have gone harder a little earlier. But there are two sides to it. If one of them would have got out, then things would have been different. But I felt overall in this game, CSK's batting lineup, it's vulnerable. We have seen that there are not enough batters in the middle order who are batting well. So I think it's high time that they look at a different batting combination, because Jamie Overton hasn't bowled well. And if you look at the way Rahul Tripathi is batting, he's struggling a bit. So that's where I think Conway should come in.
Very interesting. There's a lot that I can extend on as the conversation goes. Bish, difference between the two sides for you?
More than the difference, I want to look at a positive spin and Rian Parag winning as captain and making some bold decisions down the back end that took Shana over. There are a number of ways I could have looked at whether Tushar Deshpande should have bowled the penultimate over, and then Sandeep Sharma instead of Jofra Archer coming and bowling that final over. I think that's one of the narratives that we could look at, the captaincy and how much this would mean to someone like Rian Parag.
Yeah, I mean, this could be a completely different conversation if they don't get the job done, RR, and Archer's 3 overs, whatever, 1 for 13 or whatever it was. Matt, where do your notes start? Where do they lead and finish, I wonder?
Well, the power plays, again, it's always an important part of a T20 game, but the score comparison, 79 for Rajasthan in the first innings versus 42 for Chennai in the second. And Chennai are the slowest scoring team in the power play this year, going at 7.4 runs and over. They're the only team going at below 8 and over so far in the, admittedly very early stages of this IPL. But I feel like that's an area where they keep getting behind the game. It happened against RCB as well, where I think RCB got nearly double their score in the power play, and it's a similar story tonight. When you keep starting games on the back foot or starting innings on the back foot, it's very, very difficult to wrestle everything back from there.
Yeah, I guess the other thing, okay, let's try and start with Matt's last point on power plays and the importance of it. And that's how T20 chases are usually being won. Ashutosh Sharma in Delhi was a bit of an exception. Those happen rarely, Puji. And when you've lost only 1 wicket, all the more reason you're trying to see whether they can get a little more firepower. The question Stephen Fleming was asked that I thought he reacted to quite aggressively by Fleming's own standards. But 42 for 1 at the power play, that all adds up at the end, doesn't it?
It does, and what it shows is that they don't have enough depth in their batting, because they are not able to go hard in the power play. And they are worried that if they end up losing another wicket in the power play, then there are not enough batters in the middle overs who can study the innings and at the same time win the game, because there are no match winners in the middle overs. Like we talk about Vijay Shankar, we have spoken about Shivam Dube. He was looking good. There was a brilliant catch from Rian Parag today to dismiss him. But I still feel there are no match winners in that number 4 and 5 position, that's where I think CSK will have to find the right balance.
Is that a remedy they fix at the top? Because they also made changes today. Sam Curran was batting in the top 5, 6 in the first few games. And we'll talk about Rajasthan, but I think the big story here is a CSK team that usually come very well organized to the IPL. And before other teams figure out what their best team is, here's CSK dominating at home, picking up the odd win away. As a result of their rather, let's say, cautious approach for a large part of it, they leave themselves with too much to do. But can they go harder earlier? Today, Dhoni came in early. And I can't help but think that's a reaction to what's happened in the last 36 hours. You can see, he still got it. Could they have pushed a little harder a bit sooner? Let me just run back the last few hours. Help me with this, Matt. 32 of the last 2, but before that, 18th over 6 runs, 17th over 9 runs. And the Hasranga over in the 16th was 7 runs and a wicket. You need 12s, which then become 15s. Bish. Those are key overs. Could they have played it differently?
Yeah, you could take the chance and not take 4, 5 deliveries, 6 deliveries to sort of and just knock it around to try to get into your big shots. What about going right back to the top then, and the confidence of Ruturaj Gaikwad batting well and him going right back to the top instead of partly trying to fill that gap that Pujara talked about, getting his experience at 3, but just trust your batting and get him back up top.
I'll tell you what doesn't look good when you fall short of 6. That middle name there. And Jaddu's IPL champion and World Cup champion and all of that. But 32 not out of 22 when you lose by 6. It just does not have the right ring to it. You know the man well. He's been your state mate.
Yeah, and that's where I think someone needs to speak to him and tell him that what KL does now. I think Jadeja can come at number 6 and maybe can start doing that. Because if he is little cautious, if he's batting at a strike rate of 140, which may not be ideal when you are chasing 180. So I feel that if he can be spoken in a way where it shouldn't hurt him, but at the same time, there should be a different role from him. There should be a different expectation out of what Jadeja does, because he's quite capable. We have seen that the moment he starts accelerating, he looks like a different player. So he can do the same thing. Maybe he can take 5 or 6 balls, but rather than taking 10 to 15 balls, he can start his acceleration from 8 to 10 balls.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that last ball of Deshpande's penultimate over, where Jadeja just treated that ball like this is the ball that has to go for 6. And he's made a shot out of something. Yeah. He just doesn't do that till very late. Yeah. It's a very Jaddu thing. Like he backs himself that I will be there at the end, I'll finish it. And he's done it in an IPL final, a few years back. But what stops Jadeja from playing those calculated risk shots early in his innings?
I think, is it not just Jadeja, it's the CSK strategy where they try and take the game till last couple of overs and then they start accelerating. But the thing is, you can do it 8 out of 10 times. That was past. Now it has become like the success in that is, it has reduced significantly, and that's where I think they will have to change that strategy, because Mahibai, yes, of course he can do it, but at the same time their batting looks little different, and if you leave it too long, if you leave it too late, then I think it's a bit of a task, because even bowlers are a lot smarter now. They know how to execute their Yorkers, and if you are looking at 15 runs and over every time, then you will hardly win games.
I think Bish made a good point as well, isolating Parag's captaincy and the bravery of some of the calls he made. I think Jadeja, across recent IPLs, his strike rate is much higher against the seamers and particularly sort of medium pace than against the spinners. And that decision to have Tikshana bowling the 18th over, only went for 6 runs, no boundaries, was a really brave one, but also simply because of the fact that not many spinners bowl the 18th over, especially late at night.
Yeah.
But in terms of, Rajasthan's data-driven approach, it's probably the one that made sense, because both Dhoni and Jadeja are that much slower against spin.
I mean, it's one of those games that could go either way, and suddenly things make sense and they don't. But I guess I can understand why the conversation from Puji's opening points is you have to go to the overall batting concerns for CSK, because every time MS and Jadeja have played like this, they have, and this is successful franchise. So they know this is how they win games down there, but they've had Conway and Gaikwad firing at the top, or before that they've had more muscle in the top 5, 6, and today they made a change, they got Vijay Shankar. If you recap the last few seasons, Bish, is this, you echo Puji's point of this being the most vulnerable batting that CSK have exhibited in recent IPL years?
I would say from what I've seen, yes. Sort of like turn up, and when Devon was in good Conway, that is when he was in good touch. He's not been in good touch. You had a structure coming down. Shivam Dubey for the last couple of years have been playing well. From the outside, I just looked at it and said, CSK. This time I'm looking at it and I have a few more questions. And on the point of taking it deep though, what's the reluctance to go earlier, given that you have Overton and those guys to come, and why take it so deep? I think that's what I'd like to.
One of the reasons I've understood in the past is that you put more pressure on the less experienced bowlers,
Right.
and that's when you can deliver. But things have changed now. The bowlers are a lot smarter. Even someone like Sandeep Sharma is executing his Yorkers really well, whereas 5 years down the line, if he was bowling the same over, he might have made few more errors, and that's where
Just
CSK
purely
has
pressure.
Yeah.
That pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sandeep. There are a lot of comments on Sandeep as well. You got to give Sandeep credit. I mean, this is a game that's waiting, to go wrong for him, especially the momentum shift in the 19th. But there's a reason Sandeep Sharma has thrown the ball ahead of Jofra Archer. There's the reason he's been retained as the other high-profile uncapped player ahead of this auction. He still delivers, Sandeep does.
He does, and you have to give credit because in that situation, even if there was there was another bowler who was playing for the Indian team, and if he had to execute those Yorkers, it wouldn't have been very easy for a bowler. So the way he's executing his Yorkers, but at the same time he has a clear game plan. He bowled a slower bouncer first up to MS, and then he went for the Yorker.
Yeah.
So he's not quite predictable all the time, and he's very smart. And another advantage for him is sometimes you want a little bit of pace, but he doesn't have that pace. And when you can execute your Yorkers with less pace, it's very hard to hit a six against him.
Even we know he's got the Yorkers, but after the Overton 6, his heart must be racing. Or maybe it wasn't for him, maybe it was just us. He was calm. But his follow-up ball, is that going to be a Yorker again and try and nail it? Because Overton's almost hit that very full ball easy as you like. And we're thinking, is he going to go straight Yorker? Is he going to go wide Yorker now? If you look at Sandeep Sharma, even if he carries another Sandeep Sharma on him, he'll be shorter than Ian Bishop. But he bowls the bouncer with the 2-bouncer rule, which very many times bowlers don't use it enough, Bish. But what does that tell you about his choice of delivery under pressure after that Overton 6, bowling the bouncer, which maybe even surprised Overton?
Yeah, I think, just to refer to it again, he's very experienced now.
Right.
He's not a newbie coming in, so he has an idea of how to be unpredictable. The slower bouncer into the pitch, Overton has to then generate pace on it if he has to hit it for 6. It's one of those deliveries that guys can go to hit off center of the bat, so it's brave. But if you are confident in bowling it, and they would have been practicing this over, Sandeep would have been practicing this over and over, that is a go-to ball. If you bowl a wide, you probably take a wide as an error ball and go to something again. Because as Dwayne Bravo always says, if you decide to bowl one side of the field, Tushar Deshpande has done it in the past, err on the side of bowling a wide or 2 rather than overcompensating and coming too straight and getting hit for 6.
Okay, let's take some more questions, shall we? Right, Devang is saying, I can't understand Conway not playing. Flem is such a good coach. Surely he has a better cricket brain than me, says Devang. CSK have done well only when they've had a good opening partnership. And I guess we have to talk about Tripathi here as well. Gaikwad is screaming as an opening batting contender in this vulnerable batting lineup.
Well, what I thought when watching it, and spoke about, I thought the power plays were so important, but obviously Jofra Archer bowled a really, really top new ball spell today. And I think that actually, to me, showed why Gaikwad should be opening ahead of Tripathi, because you do get some of these spells in IPL. You have top quality international seam bowlers. And I think Gaikwad is a player probably with a better overall game, a better technique than Tripathi. Tripathi's obviously got that intent and that aggression. But when he comes up against someone like Archer, when he's bowling at his best, he's probably not the guy you'd necessarily want. So I think that would be a pretty simple change. Go Gaikwad at the top, Tripathi at 3. See how that goes. I don't think that's panicking. I know CSK don't want to make too many changes, given especially the sort of, they've made a couple of changes and lost again tonight. But I think that would be a simple switch that would improve their team.
Okay, Gaikwad at the top because of quality bowling like this. Archer's start has set this game up for RR.
I don't mind that, but the game plan for CSK is Rahul Tripathi opening the innings because they want to make the most of the power play, because Rachin and Gaikwad are similar batters. They try and play on the merit of the ball. They have enough shots, but they want a firepower in the first 6, and that's why Rahul Tripathi is opening the innings. Where he's not able to deliver, that's a different question altogether. But
that's
the reason,
thought.
that's the call, and that's where I feel that Rituraj and Conway can open the innings, and then Rachin can come at number 3. That will balance the lineup.
Do they have any more spin hitters? That was a question I saw as well, that CSK's approach of leaving it late works when the top order is strong and the middle order can hit spin. And here they're struggling on not one but 2 fronts. I guess it's only Dubey and really looking to, realistically, Dubey is the only spin hitter there. And I'm trying to think of whether the other more successful franchises so far have more resources to do that, to take them down.
Well, I suppose you look at that RCB game the other night, you had both Padikkal and Patidar hitting 6s through the middle overs in a way that Chennai only really had Dubey so far. I think in sort of how they were planning the team, and you looked at that side for the first 2 games, that was almost part of Curran's role. I think he was obviously coming in a bit earlier than Overton did tonight.
I mean, even Dubey came late in that game. And today he's walked in at 4, hasn't he? He's walked in the 8th over today.
Yeah, which I thought was a good change and probably part of the, I think it was the right time for him to come in. He obviously had some success as well. But yeah, I think there's definitely something in that in terms of it's just the balance of the side and how it all fits together. You can see how it could work if everyone's in form, but it just feels like at the moment something's not quite clicking.
Walking Alive says Conway, Gaikwad, Rachin, much better top 3. Why can't they make this decision? Let's see if they make it next game. Changed a few things. Shravani wants to know what's Jamie Overton's role in the team. Surely he's not a number 8. Hello, I'm not entertaining this question of now should Overton have batted ahead of Dhoni or ahead of Jadeja. We're far too down the other road. It's a great shot. Unfortunately, couldn't hit it again.
Yeah.
But
well, I think this is a bit of a recurring theme in IPLs, is that quite often you get a player who's brought in as a seam bowling all-rounder who ends up doing something quite different to what they do outside of the IPL. So I remember it always used to happen with Ben Cutting, who I always thought was much more destructive with the bat than with the ball. But he would quite often not really face many balls and then bowl 4 overs at number 8. Overton, for me, is a batting all-rounder in T20, but today played as sort of an opening bowler and then only faced a handful of balls at the end.
they're not big on giving the young Indian players time. They like experienced players, whether Indian or international. But I guess I can see the point of Overton even after one game. If you place Curran with Overton, different kind of players.
Yeah.
You could have given an Anshul Kambodja game here and then
I was
changed
coming to
up.
that because they should bring in Indian fast bowler, because if you are not using your overseas bowler and if they are not bowling all 4 overs, then and they are batting at number 8, so you're not using them as a batter either. So yes, you are looking for an all-rounder, but you need a proper bowler who can bowl 4 overs, and then you have good overseas batter. They are not utilizing him, so I think Conway should come in, and then instead of Overton, then they can bring in Indian seamer.
Yeah, possible. All things to consider for them. Lots of questions, comments. I'll come to them in a second. But Asim, thank you. You've taken the one that I wanted. Hasaranga. How about Hasaranga? You're calling him a beast. He's damn good, but he's not really lit up the IPL ever since that here in the UAE. This performance might have meant a great deal to one Hindu Hasaranga, and you can see the swagger on him. You need that from your spinner. How did he bowl today for you, Bish?
Yeah, for the most part, very good. I mean, the figures, the numbers speak for themselves. When he did land it in the appropriate area, he got the ball to deviate. Matt was sort of hoping the ball, or expecting the ball to grip, and the googly did grip. So good on him, because he won that wicket taker in the middle overs, and he certainly provided that. Hopefully, it gives him confidence to continue doing it as they go forward.
Anything else on Hasaranga that you saw that was different, Puji, Matt?
I'd forgotten just how good his 22 season was in the IPL, 26 wickets.
Yeah.
And obviously, probably hasn't worked out for him quite since. He fell out of favour at RCB, went to Sunrisers last year, but then missed it through injury. So, yeah, great to see him back in IPL and taking wickets.
Good on Hasaranga. Ruturaj Gaikwad has spoken at the end of the game, and he's addressed his own batting number. Let me try and see what Gaikwad has to say. He said, over the years, we had Ajinkya batting at 3, Raidu taking care of the middle order. We thought it is better I come back one step. Rahul Tripathi is known for playing aggressive roles and he can free himself up. Not much difference anyway, so I'm getting to bat in the first or second over itself. And he smiles. That's good. Very good. He can afford a smile after that. Till now, no discussions have happened about me batting at 3. I think that's the other way around. It was decided during the auction and I was convinced about that. Okay, so that's what he said. No discussions ever happened about me batting at 3. It was decided during the auction and I was convinced about that. I have no problem. I can take risks, rotate, strike when needed. And that is what you want when you have Shivam Dubey. We've not been able to get good starts. Once we get that going, we'll be a really good batting unit. Okay, let's see what the highlights of this are and try and read between the lines. We love to do that, Bish. And you can discipline me if I'm behaving, inappropriately. But it was decided at the auction. I find that interesting that he said something like that.
Well, and I feel that because the kind of season he had last year and even before that, he has been batting really well opening the innings. So why do you decide when you are sitting at the auction that why do you want to bat at number 3? Why not continue where you have been doing so well?
Fish?
No, I stand on the fact that my philosophy on T20 batting is the same that I've had with the ABD, going back to the ABD Villiers. I know what numbers say and there are different ways to do it. I want my best player. I'm going to trust him and back his technique to start things off for me. And trust Dubé to be that spin hitter, that boundary hitter in the middle and the other guys. That's how I would sort of like it structured. And if Gaikwad can get through the first couple of overs and win me 3 games a season, maybe more, then I'd be happy to take that risk.
All right, Hanish, CSK have tinkled with their side more than last season already. Looks very unlike CSK. World's best YouTube channel, well, that's the name of the account, says just outdated cricket from CSK. What else do we have? There's a lot of praise for Ian Bishop in the middle, but I'm not going to put that to him now. Yeah, but you know how we love you. Will Conway make a difference? Could he just be another anchor in a team full of batters who, you know where it's going?
And Bish made the point too that he has been probably not in the same sort of form over the past 12 months as he was for a period of a couple of years, and it's one of those classic you're always a better player when you're out of the team conversations, I think.
But also we've established for a number of players in these first few days, their non-IPL form sometimes carries for very little. They come to the IPL and they're in great form. He's got IPL pedigree at least, Conway.
He does, and see at this stage, because CSK hasn't been playing good cricket, the top order hasn't been performing well. You need to make that change. I think they are forced to make that change, and most likely he will play the next game. But
another change. CSK, next game.
they have lost 2 games back to back, isn't it?
Well, I have to see that one.
I mean, why I'm saying is Overton hasn't bowled 4 overs.
Right.
Are you trusting him as a batter? You're not. I mean, he's not picked as a batter. He's picked as a bowler. And if he's not bowling 4 overs, then you might as well use a overseas batter.
Yeah, and you brought up the point of an Indian seamer, Anshul Kamboj, they paid good money for at an auction.
And he's a good bowler. Look, I mean, he has bowled well in the past. Even if you look at his IPL record, it's decent.
I can't help but think that this is different CSK for the simple reason that this is not how they usually respond to one defeat. Can't help but think it still feels like the MI game was a loss. That's how it feels like when they set up for today, that they lost 2 and they had to make some changes. But they won that game. They lost 1 game. But they acknowledge perhaps that some things aren't working. So Huda for Shankar is one swap, Karan for Overton's another swap. How long before? You can give players security and backing if you're winning, which CSK wins, they're a winning team. Hanish says this as well. CSK at the auction assumed the batting lineup would be good. But teams these days are more competitive. They have a stronger batting with the impact sub rule. CSK aren't as good as some of the other teams. Would that be a fair enough assessment at this stage?
I think that maybe they're slightly less powerful. I think the challenge throughout is how do you fit everything together, right? I look at that CSK team that they've picked tonight and even the team that they picked for the first game, and I can understand how they win a lot of games in certain conditions and when players are in form, but I think the problem so far has been players haven't necessarily performed to the extent they would have liked. Again, as we say, it's very easy to overreact and react too much and read too much into the starts of the season they've had. The RCB game was obviously, a significant home defeat, which has prompted some change. But I don't know. Despite the fact they started tonight really poorly, they didn't. It's not like they got thrashed or anything. They lost the game by a small margin. I don't think they'll overreact, and I think that they still very much are capable of making the playoffs.
Okay, I'll just take a last one. Lawrence John on Fleming's comments the other day. He said we have a lot of firepower, but I'm not sure today's the game that's shown that. Could it just be some players are out of form and could they just find it?
Tripati's definitely
out of form.
Been struggling in domestic cricket, and he wasn't as fluent last season. So that's when I still, and I'm thankful I won't be here next CSK game when
let me check that
when Conway comes back into the team, because I'm wondering the value, and and every time I try to say something to analyze, I'm trying to insert myself with as much accountability as if I were in the team, because it's easy to sit on the outside and hey, change this one, change that one, with no accountability. But in that dressing room, was just so accustomed to stability. Even when Gaikwad himself was failing back in the UAE during duck, and they stuck with him. Different team, they might have been winning. They didn't win a lot that season, right? What another change next game? What does that say to?
Yeah, I know what you are trying to say.
I'm asking. No, I'm asking. I'm not saying.
Why I'm saying that they are forced to make another change is, one is they don't have a bowler who is bowling well in the power play. So they are forced to bowl 3 overs from Khalil in the power play. And that's the reason I feel that if they make another change, an Indian seamer could give you those couple of overs in the power play.
Right, so that Indian seamer would come in for who?
For Overton.
For Overton.
So we're not talking Conway here then.
No, there'll be a double change.
Yeah, there will be
So
a double
and
change.
the two
Instead
changes,
of
right?
Tripathi out
you
and
bring
someone
in
else.
Conway. Yeah.
It's got to be, because you've got to balance that out. So, anyway, I'm glad to inform you, Bish, while you hit the World Feed Caravan tomorrow for commentary, you're back with us for at least 2 more CSK games. Down the just in case you thought this is the last one. So you want to put something in storage, please do.
Well, that would be what? 4 changes in 2 games for CSK. That is unheard of.
Okay, I'm going to take a quick couple of really good points that we shouldn't miss out. Is the catching of Hetmaya and Riyan Parag. 2 catches on a day where I saw some previous comments speak of how CSK's catching has also let them down today, or their overall fielding. But classic catches win matches cliche. Hetmaya catching Dhoni, Parag with a stunner. Very good. Those 2 catches, big.
I thought Riyan Parag's catch was maybe kind of changed the game in favor of RR, because at that time Dubey was looking dangerous. If he had carried on batting for another 2 or 3 overs, things would have been different.
We saw some very good catches today, even in Visakhapatnam. Parag's the best catch we've seen today. I mean, so many good ones. You had Vipraj, you had Mulder,
Fraser McGurk
on the boundary. Aksar took a good one.
Yep.
I think Vijay Shankar took a decent catch in this game.
Faf took a good one.
Faf took a couple of good ones. Anyways, Parag's the best catch of the day?
For me,
Degree
it is.
of difficulty?
I think
I like Fraser McGurk. I thought it was superb.
I just think the pressure of the situation and whatnot, I think Dhoni and Hetmaya running around to take that, that's a good catch.
But we should celebrate those things. I mean, a lot of times we can critique the game, but sometimes we have to celebrate some of those good things about the game. And I think those aspects, that Parag catch, Hetty and Fraser McGurk, those are celebratory.
Very quickly wrapping this up, Nitish Rana's player of the match, and rightly so, clearly stands as the best batter of the day by some distance on both sides, 81 of 36, but did he somewhat even paper over the cracks for Rajasthan's own batting? They would also have, Rahul Dravid would have written a lot of notes like Matt Roller on the things that they also need to sharpen. They've gotten away with one, potentially, at least with the batting. They could have got more, Puji, couldn't they?
They should have. And I'm a little surprised that since they have some talented Indian batters and they are not delivering, because many of them are in contention to play for the country in the shorter format. And it's high time that they start delivering soon.
Sure, Jaiswal, Samson, Riyan Parag himself. Hopefully Samson will be back as captain. Yeah, Jurel, 70 the other day, a couple of missed shots there. Bish, quick review of Rajasthan Royals.
Dravid is no fool. He will see the victory and he will toast Nitish and Sandeep and what they've done. But he will also perhaps, maybe tomorrow, just remind the guys that there's so much more we need to do if we need to keep winning. And it's probably the best time to make those assessments when you've actually won. Guys tend to accept it a little better.
I think a great sign for Rajasthan as well. Jofra bowling with the pace and skill that he did with the new
big
ball.
Positive.
I mean, we saw in the first couple of games he was having there was the occasional ball in the high 140s, but otherwise the speeds weren't quite there. The consistency of speed and the consistency of length today, I thought was brilliant.
Trust Matt, he got baseball in it earlier today, and he gets the Bajan Englishman, the West Indian Englishman in there tonight again.
The Bayesian Englishman. That is the title of the autobiography, co-written by Matt Roller. He's already written one book.
Nah, he bowled well, Zafar.
Anyway.
Happy for him.
Excellent.
Really happy for him.
Excellent. Right, let's just see what's ahead on the road for both these teams. You know, I have my little IPL notes where I see how their caravan takes them on. They're back to the Chepauk CSK for the Delhi Capitals in an afternoon fixture on Saturday. So they have a bit of a break now. It's Sunday today. They have 5-6 days off to regroup, reflect. But Delhi are a strong form team, and they're going to be at the Chepauk next in the afternoon.
That'll be an interesting game because
Very
both
interesting.
teams have good spinners.
Very good spinners for the Delhi, and they seem red hot at the moment. As far as the Royals go, I think that wraps up affairs at Guwahati. They're on the road for the Punjab Kings now. Also a strong team. And they're on the road for a little while before they finally play at their home venue in Jaipur on the 13th of April. That's a lifetime away. Nobody looks at what their schedules are then. I know Bish doesn't. He's one day at a time now. Right, rapid fire review, gentlemen. You know how this works. Quick fire summations of the game. Let's go. Bish, you can start. 81 of 36. How was Nitish Rana so explosive on a night where all the other top batters of RR scored at under a strike rate of 130?
I don't know. Sometimes a guy is just fluent. The way he swept Ashwin, the way he ended up pulling deliveries, uppercutting one for 6. I thought it was as good and some of the best of Nitish Rana. And congratulations to him.
All right, Puji, 22 runs in 3 overs from the 16th to the 18th in the chase. Did Chennai leave themselves with too much to do?
I do agree because they had to go hard little early. I'm saying just 1 over earlier than what they did, and things could have been different.
All right, Matt, this one's for you. Not bowling out Archer, using their impact bowler for 1 over. Rajasthan still not nailing their tactics.
They're unique, aren't they? They're a little bit different to everyone else in the IPL, but it worked for them tonight. So I think we've got to give praise where it's due.
Okay, Bish, back to you. What stood out the most in Wanindu Hasaranga's spell tonight?
Better control of length. He was a little too, for me, a couple of times he was too full, one too short early and do it, but then he got his length, that in-between length, where he's so good and effective.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm glad it's come up in the rapid fire review. Is R. Ashwin still not nailing his best form so far? It's been a tough start of the season for Ashwin on his return.
I do agree, and he's a smart bowler, so he will find his way. But there are times where he has struggled to bowl against a particular batter, and Nitish Rana was the one today where he didn't get it right. And I think he thinks a lot about his game. So going forward, I think we will see a better version of Ashwin.
Oh, he thinks a lot about his game, that I know. Right, finally, everyone can take this. It's a yes or no. And I ask you this as Stephen Fleming approaches the press conference. Do Chennai have the batting firepower to do well this season?
If everyone's in form, yes.
No.
When you say do well, what do you mean well?
Well, do well is making the playoffs, surely.
Well,
Everything
making the playoffs is the qualification.
I would think so. Do they have the batting firepower?
No, you can't rely on their batting only.
There you have it. Come on, Flem. Wrap it up. Let's see what he has to say today. Well, we hope for CSK's point of view that they actually get a few players in form. Maybe we'll see the best of their players once these tactical changes are made. For now, Cheteshwar Pujara, thank you very much. You have a bit of a break now. I will see you again as the IPL caravan comes along. Thank you so much, Puji, for your time and your thoughts. Bish, you're off to the Wankhede tomorrow. Please enjoy yourself. I look forward to hearing you in full voice.
I will. I don't think much can top me sitting next to Chetty and Matt today. Really good job. Top job for both
thank
of
you.
you.
I have
Not so much the host.
Well, if I see your company tomorrow on the World Feed, I think you'll miss me as well. Matt, always a pleasure. See you tomorrow, mate. Thank you very much to our panel, and thank you for being part of the conversation through your questions and comments. Keep them coming. We look forward to MI-KKR. Again, big stakes for both sides, looking at the indifferent form for especially the Mumbai Indians. KKR looking to make it 2 out of 2. Let's see how that game goes. Build up just before the toss on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout. See you tomorrow.
How do I do it all? The Brezza gives me the power.